but we are up and we got a little bit of echo, but we're going to just go with it as we got it. Don't want to keep you here too long, but I do want to get you just up to date on where we stand as far as budget goes, and then what we're going to be going for. Okay, so our journey for today is we're going to look back at 2024 and see exactly where we were in 2024. We're going to look at what our current data is for this year up till October 31st of this year. And then we're going to take a quick peek at what's happening in the future. I should say what we're thinking about for the future. Okay, so everybody has seen this chart before if you were at the annual meeting last year. This is our revenue versus expenses for all of 2024. And at the bottom I have here our total revenue for the year was $306,000. And then we had expenses of $350,000. And we had that big deficit of $44,000. So then, that was quite a shock, I think, for people. So to try to keep you from having a shock at the annual meeting this year, I want to get ahead of it and let you see exactly where we stand. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we got to where we are. Okay, so this is revenue versus expenses for this year, 2025. As of October 31st, we had revenue of $271,082. We spent $283,114. So we had a deficit right now of $12,032. All right, so that is money that we've spent that's over what we were planning to get in or what we got in. And there's a variety of reasons why we overspent. A lot of it has to do with maintenance and just upkeep for the church. Looking at it just from a monthly basis, we have about $27,000 we get in per month, and our average monthly expense is about $28,000, which means that we have about about $1,200 each month that we're in deficit, and that's as of October 31st of this year. To put this, give you a little bit of perspective on this and how deep of a hole or how shallow of a hole we're in, I looked at what our checking account balance is and our savings balance is, savings account balance. We've got $21,703 in checking, $95,871 in our savings account. Add those both together, and you look at the monthly deficit spending that we're having, it gets us to about 98 months of deficit spending, which means that we could go 8 years and 2 months at that current level and before we have a real serious problem. So I did it this way just so that you can see that while it's an issue, it's not something that's going to sink us. But now is the time to fix it before we get to that 8 years from now and not have the resources or not having the ability or not having the time to really work on the issue. Why do we have this deficit? And really, a lot of it is maintenance and repair. We've got an elevator over at the Olivet campus, and the elevator sometimes needs maintenance, it needs repair. I think we put in a heating system for it. The elevator has its own separate heating system. It's got cooling system. It's got 3 telephone lines that go to it, and yeah, it's just for the elevator itself. We looked at paring back on the telephone system and trying to find ways to cut down on the cost for the telephone system. We were able to put in a cellular line for one of the lines, backup lines, which cut down on some of the costs for the elevator as far as telephone system goes. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I think we may have the elevator at a point where it's not going to cost as much as it has in the past. And those are the famous last words. It's not going to be. Yeah, but we're looking at also getting a new elevator repair service for the elevator and see if we can get a service that's going to be a lot less expensive than what we currently have. One that's a lot more responsive, one that's a lot more going to serve our needs rather than the needs of the company that we're currently using. But that's about 6 months to a year in advance. But we're looking at that. We did grounds maintenance both on this campus and at the Olivet campus, and just trimming trees and that sorts of things. It's really expensive to get all that work done, but it's not work that's going to be done every year. So that one, so the next time we might be going back to grounds maintenance and having to do this type of tree work or other services is about 4 to 5 years. So that one is pretty much in place. One of the issues that we did have was leaky bathroom fixtures. We had, I guess the issue came to light in April. We had a water bill that was $1,700, and that really got us to think, okay, that there's something wrong, because it shouldn't be $1,700, it should be about $200. So then we started checking. I went through the bathrooms. I went through all the bathrooms and checked them, and I found in the women's bathroom out here, we had a toilet that was running, continuously running, and so I got the water shut off for that and changed the volume for it and got things so that it didn't look like we had a leak. We came back a week later and we found that there was still a leak in the bathroom. It was one of the flapper valves, and then we started looking a little further and we noticed that we had a leak in the men's room, on the men's room side, and so we wound up having to replace the urinal on the men's room side. We replaced all the internal workings of all the toilets in the church, and that came out to be about $4,000. No, it's about a little more than $4,000 for all of the work, water bill plus fixing the toilets. And then we've had a faulty thermostat over in the Simpson room, which is over at the Olivet campus. The thermostat would also heat and cool at the same time. So it's not very wise. So the room would get warm, and the air conditioning would kick in and to cool it down, and then the air conditioning would go off, and then the heat would go on. So we got that worked out, got that fixed. So we're working through a lot of these issues and just making sure that we get the church running properly. We don't have a lot of these types of maintenance issues going on. So that's really where I think the deficit is coming from. Okay, it doesn't want to work. All right, it doesn't want to do that. Anyway, what can we do in the future? I mean, look, what can we do in the short term? What we can do in the short term is that we can look to our maintenance contracts and make sure that our maintenance contracts are going to serve our needs, that they're not going to be as expensive as they are. And so we're starting to examine those and trying to see if we can find different suppliers. I know church insurance is one of the issues that I just had to talk to the insurance company a little while ago, and I'm looking at how much it costs for us to insure the church, and that's $25,000 all by itself. So, but a year. So I'm going to look into that and see if there's another supplier that we can get that can provide insurance for us. But it's not like homeowners insurance where you're paying $1,000 and everything is insured. This is more closer to a business type insurance, and so we want to see if we can get that cost down for us a little bit, because they insure not just the building itself, but anybody that might be visiting on the property here. And there's plenty of people that come out and just use all the property we have, cutting through over to the rec center or just driving onto the property, and then anybody that might come inside the building itself. So we have a lot more issues that you'd have that rather than as a homeowner, where you just might have an occasional guest. We get guests every week. So that will be one of the things that we're going to be looking at. And that's really going to be trying to cut down on our cost, okay? And we'll see where we end up. I think for this year, we're probably going to wind up having a deficit somewhere around $15,000, okay? But like I said, it's not the end of the world. We're in a good position. And so then we can get that part solved out, or at least manage that part. What do we do in the long run? And this is really going to require us to do some discernment and figure out what it is that we want to do. But one of the things that the vestry has been examining and looking at is ways that we can use our property to generate income for the church. And there's a study going on right now just looking at what it is that, ways that we can earn money and actually help sustain ourselves. And I know this is unusual coming from the treasurer of a church, not asking people to dig into their pocket, but to actually just, pray and discern, where it is that we want to go, and that the studies that are being done now will actually lead us or help us to get to the point that we want to get to. Okay? So, and I think that is it. My slideshow is not going to advance anymore, but what I will do is I will put a copy of the slides. I can put it up, a link to in the newsletter. Yeah, so they'll be there available in the newsletter, and I think that's about all that I've got for you right now. Okay? Sure.
One of the uncertainties in my mind is the question of koinonia. I know that it's taken a long time for them to get approval for things, because I saw these big, massive county stickers that said it was going to be a vote that was done. So, haven't we been receiving a lesser amount of koinonia?
No, we have not been receiving a lesser amount. They are in, and they are able to get a lot of the repairs done now. They need to get certification to be able to do the work that they're doing, and they've gotten that. That's why you see the notices that are popped up that work is being done there. And so they should be fully in by January, be able to do the work that they're going to do.
But have we been getting that this entire year?
Yes.
Okay, so we have.
Yeah.
It seems like it's taking forever to get that.
Yeah.
The elevator has cost us thousands.
Yeah.
So that's mitigating to some extent. For their work to be accomplished, that elevator must be.
Yeah, we're talking about koinonia and just the ability for koinonia to be able to function and move inside the elevator. Move food and clients, okay.
Pretty much have a lot on the market as far as I can tell. I don't know if they're probably look into it.
Yeah.
What would it cost to get a new elevator?
Yeah, I don't think we want to try to get a new elevator, but I think we do want to see if we can find a different contractor to actually do the maintenance work for us. Because I know the elevator there is a Schindler elevator, and they are not very responsive to us. And it may just be that they've got a lot of corporate clients that are able to pay a lot more, and they will only respond to us really on the weekends. No. Okay. Well, they're not happy. They don't work with us as well as they should. Yes. Yeah, they come on the weekends, and that's not the time that we need them. We need them whenever there's something that's gone wrong. And so, yeah.
Before we go further, I want to make sure we thank Tony for keeping all of our money.
Colleen, the Zoom people can't hear you.
I think Margaret has a question. Margaret?
I'm going to thank two more people first.
I didn't have a question. I need to hear you, but I want to say about Schindler for elevators that I live in a very large
our heavenly
condo
host
complex.
I also want to thank Charlotte for keeping track of all these bills, for transferring in the last year everything over to the name St. Martin de Porres, trying to combine as many bills as we can. This is not a simple task. And Sudhu for being our junior warden and handling all of this repair work, and everyone is working to reduce our costs as much as possible. We have made a huge strides from 24 to 25. So.
No, we have Cub Scouts that are here.
And Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts. The Boy Scouts, if they can get the
Share your microphone, please.
Okay, let me share. All right, we have Girl Scouts that are meeting here at the church, and we have Cub Scouts that are meeting at the church. If the Boy Scouts can ever get enough boys together, they'll reform the Boy Scout troop, and they're planning to meet here. But as it stands right now, they've got like 3 or 4 boys, and it probably isn't enough for a troop.
Kelby. The question is, does grounds maintenance include mowing? And yes. Thank you for that offer.
Don't discourage him.
Yes. Charlotte.
Okay.
Yes. Charlotte has asked about this study. So we have contracted, or not contracted, this is free to us. We are not paying a penny. There is a group called Virginia Episcopal Real Estate Partners, VREP. They were at one time diocesan homes, but they have changed their focus and now they have a new name. They are doing a financial analysis of our finances. They are going to be doing structural analysis of our buildings so we can better predict. We thought this was okay, but this is actually looks like it's 30 years old and is going to need repair in 5 years. So we can hopefully plan out future maintenance better. They have also been doing area. They're going to give us this, they call it a dashboard, where they're going to be looking at the neighborhoods around each of our campuses. What are the possibilities of passive income as well as active income? And they have, I know I've talked to the real estate lawyer about best practices for rentals. We have people contacting us wanting to rent, particularly the chapel at Olivet, but we do not have the people to be on top of that rental. It sounds great, but particularly the chapel in particular is a historic building and we need close supervision. There have been a lot of bad experiences in the past that we don't want to repeat. And in just kind of hints in the conversations, there are things that we can do better in pricing and such to do these rentals. So they are going to give us a lot of information. The vestry will be reviewing that information in January, and we will kind of try sort that out, and then at the annual meeting present to the congregation what we see as the best way forward that we are going to do. I announced this at the 8 o'clock. Selling part or all of that property is on the table. That doesn't mean we are doing it, but I want to make this known that we are considering that in this so that nobody is surprised when we discuss this later. We have to consider that as a possibility because that is a very valuable property. And so it's not at the front of the list at all. We would like to be able to make this work, but we, as healthy and vibrant as we can be, if we cannot pay our bills, we cannot continue to exist. So, are there other questions about that?
Just a quick question about that. Is that in the context of trying to make money or in the context of expanding the ministry through something like affordable housing?
My priority is that if there is a sale of anything, the sale goes towards something that furthers the kingdom, not maximizing profits. That is my own personal. That is my own personal belief, that we are not here to get as much money as we can out of anything, but to work in a fair and just way in this market. And if something is sold, it is going to be sold for the betterment of the kingdom, not for the betterment of our budget. Okay. Pete.
I'd like to just try and clarify something I heard. You said that the building is very valuable, but the other side of that is it's very expensive to maintain.
I didn't say the 57 building is valuable. Just the property is. The building itself is, if you haven't been there, it is, well, I learned from Mary Evelyn that I think that it was designed by a priest. I don't know, it's just odd. It was congregation, okay. It was built with love, absolutely, but it is, you cannot get anywhere without going upstairs or downstairs. So that is not the desirable format for a church, where we want to be accessible. So what was your question? Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Right. Yes. And VREP has been wonderful to work with. I have also talked to other churches where they have helped, and it is amazing the things that I am learning that were brought in. The Virginia Episcopal Real Estate Partners, they're the nonprofit that is doing the analysis for us. And they're doing it all for free. Yes. Yes. That is part of this analysis they're doing. Right. I mean, in theory, the 57 building is pretty much new, in theory. But we put in a new boiler and then thought we were done and we had to do more to the boiler. They're doing for both campuses. Trying to get out of the sun. Are there any other questions? Yes. Ooh. There are lots of fundraising possibilities. Oh, yes. Ursula just said, I wonder if we could consider having dances as fundraisers, like a Pride and Prejudice ball or something. There are, of course, lots of amazing fundraisers we could do. And the positive is those could invite the community in. The negative is they also require a lot of people to put that together. And so those will be things in the future we'll have to decide, do we have the people to do it? Right now, that is our struggle, is getting people who can help us do whatever it is that needs to be done. I'm very happy with, like I said, VREP. I know we're going to learn a lot from this research that they are doing for us. I know they've alluded to ways we can do our rentals better. Hopefully that includes having someone else manage the property. Yes. But as diverse as our community is, we don't have anyone who has come forth that has experience in rental property management. So we are really relying on them, BREP, to help educate us on that, on those best practices. Well, it depends. We don't know yet until they present it to us what their findings are. But there are ways that we can charge enough to include the property manager. And the reason we're telling you today is I don't know how we can do this better. On one hand, we can give you monthly updates of what our bottom line is, but I don't know how much that tells you. So we want you, everyone, we want to be transparent and open of where we are on our budget because it's everybody's budget. It's not private. We also don't want to scare anybody, but we know that we are not coming up in the red, black. It's Black Friday. We are not coming out in the black at the end of the year. So everyone needs to be a part of that. Yes, Charlotte. You're going to talk?
We talked about maintenance on, how's that? Talked about maintenance on because of the deficit. None of that addresses the, I call the things to do. If you notice, our parking lot is in bad shape. It's actually falling apart underneath. The parking lot at Olivet needs to be repaved. So there are many things that this doesn't address that we haven't talked about. We have a guesstimate of how much all this pricing does, but there's a lot of things. This is just for us to survive.
This is a high-level thing that's here, just to let you know that we do have a deficit. We're going to have to address that,
Yeah.
but there are things that are going to have to be repaired. And when we get back next year and we look at this, we're going to have to deal with some of the issues that we have, such as the paving that might have to be done here and at Olivet, and what the costs are for that. But, we've got time. And as long as we are prayerful and we think about what it is that we need to do, we can work through the issues that we have. Okay?
Usually, my understanding that there's some people that won't let it go. They don't want to stop. So what is usually the difference between the pledge amount and what we actually do?
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer for you, but I know that there are people that don't pledge, but they are faithful givers. And I think we've tried to make sure that people know that we really need that pledge card to come back, so we have an idea of how much income we're having coming in. But and I'm trying to think of where what the pledges were for last year and where we ended up as far as income for this year. And I don't have it for you, but I will try to make sure that I put that in. Well, it's a data point, and I will put that in the annual meeting. I'll try to make sure I have it for you. Yeah. Oh, 7,000 over. Okay. Right.
It's a situation where we have a reserve.
Mm-hmm. Well, the ideal goal would be to have an endowment and then have a reserve to go off of that. But we're not at a position right now where we can actually talk about endowment. But now that you've brought it up, and I was looking for a segue into this, but I did want to talk a little bit about at some point I wanted to try to find a way to talk about, just planned giving. And so if you're thinking about a gift to the church, it doesn't have to be your whole estate. It doesn't have to be, everything that you have, but just something so that you can remember the church. So a way that you can show that you're remembering the church. And if you're thinking about that, talk to Reverend Colleen, talk to myself, talk to one of the vestry members, and we can talk to you more about planned giving. But it's, like I said, it's not everything that you got, because that wouldn't be, right. I don't think it's right. But if you're thinking about it, just talk to us, and we can talk to you a little bit more about planned giving.
And that can really add up.
Yeah, and it can add up if you So.
We tried to do that as region, but it was. So the question is, when John Weatherly was here, he worked regularly at the Fairfax retirement community, and they gave to us, and they left in their planned giving, in their wills to us. We currently don't have that ministry, a regular visiting of people that are not members of the congregation. The region tried, but that was 2 years ago, to take that over again. No one is really healthy, big enough or healthy enough to commit to that regularly right now. And that is, again, what I want to stress as we move out. We are very healthy, spiritually and as a community. The other churches around us are much smaller than us. St. James, we just had clericals last week, has only 20 people on a Sunday. We have 15 at our 8 o'clock. Sharon Chapel has 20 on a Sunday. They were having 40, but as this new program year began, they have only been having 20. St. Luke's is almost at 200 on a Sunday. I don't know the numbers for Pohick because they were not there. So the other churches in our region are also struggling in different ways. So we're really doing amazing, considering we are keeping up 2 properties, and no one else in the diocese is doing that. So we are being very conscious with our money, and everyone is being very generous. When we ask, people give. Just like last year, we paid off that mortgage. That was incredible. So I know we will get through this, but I just want everybody to know that we are in a deficit. We are predicting today a deficit next year, but we are working on ways to get out of that deficit.
All right, so I think we got one more question. Okay. All right, well, good. And like I said, we're going to have the slideshow on, we'll have it as on our website with the newsletter. You'll get a link to it. And I think we've recorded this. Hopefully it's a good recording. I'll put the recording on our YouTube channel so that if it's a good recording, I'll put it on a YouTube channel, and you can take a look at it there, and just hopefully you'll be able to get something out of it. If you hear somebody that says they weren't able to make it to the meeting, but they wanted to hear what was going on, they'll have a chance to hear it then, on our YouTube channel. All right. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, there was one other thing that I did want to talk about. It's going back to our YouTube channel. If you haven't been there lately, you should probably go on the YouTube channel, St. Martin de Porres, Alexandria, Virginia. And, I'm sorry. St. Martin Alex. We did a video. It was myself, Therese, and Rosa. Rosa actually stole the show with it. And we talked about ministries here at St. Martin de Porres. And so if you have a chance, please take a look at it. It's kind of long. It's about 30 minutes, but it's very interesting. And just different ways that people can actually volunteer and work here at the church and just contribute. I think one of the points that Rosa makes is that a lot of the volunteer activities aren't going to take a lot of time, 15, 20 minutes maybe for some of them. Some of the volunteer activities you can do while you're here at church actually doing service, as a LEM or some of the other activities that are here. So if you're interested in trying to just work on some of the ministries here at the church, those are great opportunities. But take a look at the video and just enjoy. Okay, and there's a link on the web. link on the website and in the newsletter to the video. All right then, and I think we're done. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.